The story of Nelly Bly, a young woman journalist who demonstrated leadership and left behind an impacting legacy on society. Could I pass a week in an unstayed ward at Blackwell's Island? I said I would, and I did.
Nelly Bly uncovers the abusive conditions of the mentally ill and less fortunate.
Elizabeth Jane Cochran led a new era of undercover journalism and opened a door to women's writing through the pen name Nelly Bly, through uncovering the abusive conditions of the mentally ill and less fortunate, which she then left behind a legacy of new means of protection for them.
Having no father since the age of 6 when he died without leaving money or legal claim to the estate, Elizabeth Cochran experienced firsthand the struggle of being financially independent as a woman in the 1870s. Living a rough childhood with a mother who married an abusive husband in order to support the family, Elizabeth witnessed the lack of respect in society towards women as well. Through this all, Elizabeth never lost her passion for writing, and in later years, her name would change and be known in every household in America as Nelly Bly.
After the divorce, Elizabeth dropped out of school due to budget issues, and then with her mother moved to Pittsburgh. There, Elizabeth read an article, What Girls Are Good For, and in disgust to the sexist opinion of the author, she wrote a letter to the editor of the newspaper company. The editor liked the passion that she installed in her writing, and he sent out a request for her, and when she appeared, she was hired immediately.
Here in 1885, Elizabeth took the pen name of Nelly Bly and set off to make her career in New York. New York is thriving as America's largest city during this time. It is alive with people, new ideas coming in from many other places. It is growing and prospering more and more each day. Journalism is a large, male-dominant workforce, as well as being a major part of society at this time in the newspaper form. Nelly would enter this workforce and soon create a position for herself, ranking higher than most of the men journalists. This led to new opening for women in this field.
Nelly Bly, a woman who would go through great lengths to ensure others who were in need received the help that was vital to their well-being. During a time of new ideas and the rebuilding of America, Nelly Bly led a new era of undercover journalism and stood up for humanity, whether they were on the lower part of society or not. Her breakthrough in her career showed the first glimpse on how she will go through great lengths to find the truth and help the ill and less fortunate receive the protection and necessities they deserve.
Leadership is shown through a person's will to provide and satisfy the desires of their followers and the people depending on them. Nelly Bly exemplifies this. When she first published her review about Blackwell's Island, people were in more disbelief about how the rumors were proven true than actually helping the suffering patients in the asylum. She sought new means for them through contacting New York Assistant District Attorney Vernon M. Davis, and they achieved in creating multiple changes in New York City's Department of Public Charities and Corrections.
Her major breakthrough was Blackwell's Island. Her goal was to get into the Blackwell's Asylum and find out the truth about how the workers were treating the patients. She started by acting crazy. She walked the streets in a daze and then entered herself into a working-class boarding house. There she frightened the residents to the point they shipped her off to the women's lunatic asylum. She spent 10 days there and then had a fellow reporter come and release her. While she was in the human rat trap, as she called it, due to its filth and rat-infested food, overcrowdedness, and lack of necessities. While she was there, she endured conditions such as the nurses harassing and mocking the inmates. They even choked and beat some of them. Many of the residents there weren't even insane at all. They were mostly foreigners and women whose husbands didn't want them. She stated that, I think I experienced some of the sensations of a drowning person as they dragged me, gasping, shivering, and quaking from the tub. For once, I did look insane. Once she gets to the island, in fact, she completely stops acting insane, and the doctors take no notice of it. The more sane she talked and acted, the more insane they thought she was. The nurses went through more troubles of keeping the public out than trying to make the women and girls sane. It was to hide the abusive conditions they treated the girls with and the unhygienic facility. One of the patients later wrote about the rope gang she was put on.
One of her other reports was called Homeless Hopeless. This is when Nelly Bly went to where the homeless women of New York stayed and rested during the night. The city was supposed to provide nourishment and protection for them, but the things they provided for them were not substantial. They were kept in few rooms above the prison, which are unsanitary and harmful to the women. There were open vents that were contaminating the air. Nelly heard the news of the city removing the rooms. She took it upon herself to enter them and learn the stories of the women. She didn't even know that it existed at first, but she was willing to put her life and health at risk to learn about the women and be able to protect and ensure their safety. Another report was known as Cruelties at the Zoo. Mr. Haynes, the president of American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, asked Nelly to find out what's actually going on in the Central Park menagerie. The animals don't have substantial clean water supplies, improper shelter, and they are in some cases being abused. She went undercover with some other agents and discovered the poor conditions to be true. Nelly also dealt with dead-strew trenches with worldwide situations, such as World War I. She went to the scene of a large trench battle and she met Red Cross members and saw firsthand the casualties of the war. She wanted to help both sides because both sides were suffering badly from both destruction and disease. Nelly wanted to show people what was happening in the outside world and that everyone is suffering from the war.
Nelly inspired many people to enter the yellow journalist career. She also with this inspired people to help the less fortunate and correct the wrongdoings of many organizations and facilities. Once a report on the asylum was published, it went worldwide and it soon developed into a book. She gained many followers who respected her for her actions. People realized that she showed passion through her writing, which gained her followers' interest because they realized she wasn't just writing, she was passionate about the people she was affecting as well. She cared just as much about the people she helped as much as she loved writing. For instance, when she found new means of protection for the homeless of New York, as well as even helping animals who were being abused and mistreated. This also proved to her followers that she wasn't just helping people, she was helping anything and anyone in need. President Roosevelt of the time even recognized the efforts of the muckrakers, the people who attempted to expose the abuses of businesses and corruptions in politics. He stated that their actions at times were irresponsible, yet they proved great charisma and they gained benefits for many people in need. Nelly had a speech in which she addressed her patrons, and they then in return thanked her for her accomplishments and how she made a difference in many people's lives.
She left behind a legacy in more than one way. Her legacy included opening doors for women in the field of journalism, as well as giving women the opportunity to enter a male-dominant workforce and make a career for themselves. She also left behind a legacy of providing new means of protection for the mentally ill and less fortunate. With her doing this, she also allowed for others to stand up for the less fortunate and correct the corruption in society in the late 1800s and early 1900s.
When she first published the Blackwell Asylum Report, it spread very quickly and people were astonished by how the rumors were proven true. As people found out more about her report, they sought new means of protection for the people in the asylum, and it was put under a close watch. The same thing happened after each article Nelly wrote, and shortly after, other people were going undercover and searching for corrupt facilities that mistreated people. For example, Ida Tarbell, another American journalist during the time, exposed unfair practices of the Standard Oil Company, leading to the U.S. Supreme Court decision to break its monopoly.
Nelly Bly and her rapidly growing success, her name started to become known in every household in America. This is a huge accomplishment not only for what she was doing, but also the fact that this is also a woman who was doing it. This was largely significant because it gave women determination and perseverance to get a job and make a career for themselves instead of being known only for knowing how to do housework.
As Nelly conquered more, her representation towards society changed and grew, positively affecting the people of the country. She was able to change lives, and not only the people she found better means of protection for, but also helped right the wrongdoings of the government. In 1893, an economic crisis sent U.S. businesses into shock due to a major change in the attitudes of workers. In several places, workers fought bosses in national-wide strikes. Nelly heard stories from both perspectives but strongly sided with the strikers. Nelly wanted to also beat the record previously set by the fictional character Phileas Fogg for the number of days it took to travel around the world. When she first proposed the idea, she said that she'd attempt it as a publicity stunt for the world. The paper's business manager replied that it would be more suited to send a man because he would not need a chaperone or as much luggage. Bly instantly replied with, "Very well, start the man, I'll start the same day for some other newspaper and beat him." With that, she got the assignment. As she went along this journey, every newspaper was publishing her whereabouts and where she was headed to next. She completed it in 72 days, 6 hours, and 11 minutes, shattering Phileas Fogg's record. She proved that women are equally as capable as men during most all situations. You just have to set your mind to it.
Nelly Bly was truly a leader amongst many people of her time, and through seeking new means of protection for the mentally ill and less fortunate. She not only promoted undercover journalism, but she also opened many jobs in male-dominated workforces for them to go and have a career. Nelly, in a way, stood as a prosecutor for the women's rights movement, because she established herself in a men's workforce and succeeded. She was known for her kind-heartedness and impacted many people's lives, not only the ones she was directly helping, but others indirectly as well. This symbolizes leadership and legacy because Nelly Bly sacrificed her health to benefit others and please her followers by putting them and their needs first. She gave more than she received, and she left behind new opportunities for many women in the future.